The inverted to inverted roll. This video covers the inverted to inverted rolls from the number 5 lead solo perspective. The inverted to inverted roll is an exciting and dangerous maneuver that ends with a high performance clearing turn and shows off your precision flying skills. The maneuver is the second opposed maneuver in the Blue Angels Solo routine, and builds on the previous knife edge pass, utilizing many of the same concepts. So if you have not watched the tutorial for the knife edge pass, I highly recommend you check that out first. Briefing. The maneuver begins with the same abeam setup as the knife edge pass, 4 nautical miles away from show center and parallel to center line, flying away from the show box. After the abeam setup, both aircraft turn in for center point, following the same profile from the knife edge pass. The inverted to inverted rolls, while fairly simple, are surprisingly challenging to get right, and are also rather dangerous. That means it must be performed precisely and carefully. The maneuver builds on the knife edge pass by adding inverted flight and a 360-degree roll at center point. At 1.2 nautical miles from center point, both aircraft will roll left 180 degrees to inverted flight, crossing center point left of the show line. At center point, both aircraft will perform synchronized 360-degree counterclockwise rolls, then perform a 270-degree roll to the knife edge, transitioning seamlessly into a 90-degree max performance clearing turn behind the crowd. Following the maneuver, number 6 rejoins number 5 for the Fortis. Let's dive into the walkthrough. Walkthrough. Welcome back to the cockpit of the F-18C Hornet, setting up for the inverted to inverted rolls. We're currently 3.5 miles away from center point and about 1.5 miles away from the crowd abeam of the center line. Now at this point it might be good to mention something that Brother Leb brought up in his video about the inverted tuckover rolls, and that has to do with the HSI screen down here. Brother Leb puts up a course line in his HSI that allows him to reference how close he is to center line at any given time. Now, because our roll-ins for the maneuvers have to relate to 6's calls, I don't find it particularly valuable as 5 to put in the course line. All of our lineups are going to be purely visual and having to relate to 6's roll-ins. And so it's more important for me to be paying attention to my speeds and distances and altitude than it is to be looking at the course line. He's trying to fly a consistent profile to help us out, and we're trying to relate to him, which means we're staring at the HUD pretty much the entire time we roll in. Now, we're currently 3.5 miles away from center point, as mentioned before, and we're setting up for another abeam setup into the maneuver. That means it's going to be the standard calls of 4 miles mark from 6, let me know when you're abeam from 6, let me know when you're ready to take your mark, go ahead and take it from 6, stand by, mark it. Those calls will come all after the 4 mile mark. So let's resume the replay and watch that in action. 4 miles mark. Let me know when you're abeam. Abeam. Let me know when you're ready to take a mark. Go ahead and take it. Stand by, mark it. Now at this point we're trying to line up the 4 mile mark call with his. 4 miles mark, 400. Alright, so we're on speed, on time. Looking like a pretty good lineup is about to happen. Now at this point we have to make our maneuver call, just like the knife edge, but this one's a little different, because this time it's a little truncated, because if we said inverted to inverted, 6 and I wouldn't be able to get both of our calls in before we hit the 3 mile mark. So the call is, Chariot's in left inverted, and 6 would respond with, Brother Leb's in left inverted. So let's simulate that now. Chariot's in left inverted. Brother Leb's in left inverted. Now we're trying to sweeten up our timing, sweeten up our spacing. 3 miles, mark 400. Slowing it down a little bit here. Looking good, a little low, but we'll be fine. 2 miles, mark 400. So we were on time on that call, but the reason I paused it is because unlike the knife edge maneuver, where we flew into the box straight and level, the inverted to inverted means we have to come into the show box inverted. and that happens at about 1.2 miles. So as soon as you hit 2 miles mark, you're paying attention mostly to our distance call down here. This distance bug is going to tell us how close we are to center point, and we want to make sure to call hit it at 1.2 miles. So I tend to start my cadence at about 1.4. Now some notes about rolling inverted. Now just like the knife edge, rolling inverted is going to require a little bit of yug. And similar to the knife edge, we're going to have to add a little bit of push or forward stick deflection once we're on our 90 to actually keep the jet on line. Now, most general aviation pilots are wincing right now because they know that you don't want to mix your stick deflections. You don't want to mix a deflection left or right with a deflection forward or back. But the F-18 has an FCS system that keeps us safe from things like yaw and torque overroll that can actually throw the plane into a severe state of instability. You'll see a little bit of wobble from us as we fly these maneuvers, but the jet handles it because it has the FCS system that takes care of it for us. So we are given the privilege of being able to add a little bit of push into our rolls, and that'll keep us on line. Now once you roll inverted, you need a little bit of counter stick, a little bit of right stick to keep the jet on line, and then it's a decent amount of forward stick to keep the jet straight and level. So let's see that in practice. Ready, hit it! Alright, at this point, it's smoke on as soon as you're inverted. Ready, hit it, smoke on. Now let's see whether or not we nailed that one here. And there's 6 with his smoke on. Looks like we nailed the call. We both smoke on. At this point, I would call contact, and I actually give the sugar call as well of looking good. That's because in the past we've had a little bit of trouble with conflicting with each other. So it's a habit that we've kept since the old days, and it's a good thing to check in on to make sure that we're both on line and on profile according to my viewpoint. So at this point, we're looking at center point, we're looking at Brother Leb, and at about 0.5 miles, we're going to call a little drive. That means a little bit of forward stick deflection to pitch the jet up to about 2.5 degrees. This will give us an optimal nose angle up for the 360-degree roll to the left to ensure that when we roll out inverted once again, we're back with wings level and not nose down, which is hard to recover from in the inverted position. So let's zoom out here, and we'll watch this maneuver take place. Little drive. Now I'm going to pause it here because it's time for the hit, and it's important to talk about the philosophy of the hit, especially from the number 5 position. Since every opposing maneuver builds on the knife edge, we want to try and replicate the photo moment that we had from the knife edge in the inverted to inverted rolls and all other opposing maneuvers. This is something we've observed with the past 2 lead solos, that just like the knife edge, they try and get the picture of the jets to have their full planforms in view when they cross at center point. This gives the crowd the feeling that each maneuver is building on the knife edge in danger and complexity and adds to their excitement. So that's why we call our hits a little early, and you'll see us at the 90 when we cross center point. Ready, hit it! Stand by, roll! And pull. Now, as soon as you start your 270-degree roll to the left, you're going to be turning your smoke off, at which point you're going to be pulling to the 90-degree behind crowd. In our show videos, you will hear me give the sugar call of the behind the crowd clear heading because this helps Six make sure that he's flying to the same heading that we are, so even if my heading's off, Six will be able to fly the same heading and we'll have a decent clear behind the crowd. Let's zoom out a little bit, and we'll keep going with the maneuver. 3-3-4, stand by, roll. Chariots clear, and clear behind the crowd for the Fortis. Hooks coming down. Now at this point when we roll out behind the crowd, we're rolling out to 10 degrees nose high, and this is to make sure that when we're flying with a diamond, we have altitude underneath us to allow the diamond to come in for their next maneuver. Now, as soon as we finish this maneuver, we're calling our next maneuver. So we called Chariots clear, meaning we're clear of the show box and ready to proceed, and clearing behind the crowd, letting the number 6 pilot and the team know which direction we are clearing. For the Fortis, hooks coming down. So for the Fortis being the next maneuver, and hooks coming down being deploying the hook, because for the Fortis, we are flying a full dirty configuration, which means hook and gear down. And we start with the hook down, just like the Navy pilots do when they're setting up for the downwind leg in a carrier approach. At this point, 6 would form up on us behind the crowd, and we would proceed to the Fortis. Now that you've learned the inverted to inverted rolls, let's give you a demo of a full comms onboard view of a Cobalt airshow we did earlier this year. No show is perfect, but we think this is a pretty representative pass of the inverted to inverted rolls.
And 4 miles mark.
Let me know when you're beam.
Left beam.
Let me know when you're ready to take your mark.
Take it.
Stand by, mark it.
Four miles, mark 400.
Cherries in for the left inverted.
Left and left inverted. 3 miles, mark 403. Two miles, mark 400.
Ready, hit it. Smoke on.
Go right.
Contact, looking good.
Go right.
Little drive.
Go right.
Ready, hit it. Trace clear.
Clear.
Stand by, roll. And pull. 3, 3, 4.
Left.
Stand by, roll. Trade's clear and clear behind the crowd for the horse. Coming left, hooks coming down. State 9-4.
Leb, state 9-3.
And that's how the Legacy Blue Solos perform the inverted to inverted pass. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel where you can find full side-by-side show sequences and debriefs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the flight line.